Well, I'll start off. I did not finish the book. I don't know what to say. I used to I like had trouble getting through it, and then I tried to get it on Audible because they gave me a free credit with my free trial, and they said that I used up my credit, and they were like, "You can't use it on this book," and then I lost my credit, and then I was just really mad, and I was like, "I'm gonna just hear about how the book went from y'all." So if the
Um,
author does see this, I apologize in advance, and you should still come visit us. Trey would be really excited.
oh damn, let me text Kinsey the link. I sent it out a while ago. Let me find it. Okay, she got it. Copy link. Um, yeah, I'll wait till Kinsey gets here, but I definitely have thoughts. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would.
I didn't love it either. That's why I was like, it was kind of hard for me to get through. Also, so yeah, that's where I'm gonna, yeah, I'll say that. I don't know where we'll start
Can
getting
I
in.
ask, did you guys, Liz, did you listen to it or did you read it, like physical?
I listened to it, which everyone said was the medium to do it with because this was supposedly like she's a podcaster, right? Um, yeah, I listened to it. I think maybe the content just like I've read other travelogues that like really enraptured me. So I think I just went in. I don't know. I thought I knew what I wanted and expected from it, but then it delivered what I expected, and I just didn't like it as much as I thought. If that makes sense.
I think the lore, I listened to a podcast where she talked about like the inception of the book, and I think she was I really want to write this book about hot dogs. But her publisher was like, okay, well, it's 2020/2021. And the only way we can get this book published is if you write a travelogue because nobody's writing those right now because it's COVID. And she was like,
Oh,
so that's some context for the book that I thought was important because I agree with you. I think it's a bad travelogue. I think it's an interesting book about hot dogs, and I liked those parts, but the travelogue aspect was kind of boring to me because it wasn't really supposed to be a travelogue in the first place. Like that was her publisher being like, if you want to write this book, this is how it has to be written.
that makes so much more sense and makes me appreciate it more.
Yeah, okay, because I did kind of feel like I was being like tricked into reading a travel log that I didn't think it was gonna be. And I was like, that's all fine and dandy, but I thought it was gonna be like an in-depth, like freaky, funny thing about hot dogs
And
more so.
totally. And like her podcasts that are like obviously her own kind of brainchild and project are much more of those deep dives where it's like, here's a topic that I'm interested in, and we're going to go into it and deep dive and like cut the bullshit. Whereas I think the book was like, okay, my publisher told me I had to write all the bullshit to get this published. And so that's why it like kind of was boring.
I had, can you guys hear me okay? I'm never sure when I'm like wearing my headphones.
You sound great, yeah.
Great, amazing, because everything I'm about to say is super important. I think I'm in the minority because I actually enjoyed it more than I was anticipating to. I think, and I don't think I asked that question earlier because I don't think I would have enjoyed like reading it in paperback, but I just listened to it like walking around my house. So kind of like the weaknesses of it as a travelogue. It was so painfully temporally bound by like the post-COVID like commentary. So it was written in 2021, right? Or like that's when everything takes place.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know if it's my memory of things, but like maybe it's just like living in the South in 2021. I didn't know anybody who was masking to the degree that she was describing like the workers as masking. And I was like, this is actually the most important, or not the most important, the most interesting part of the travelogue to me was it is like an artifact of that time period, like the relations in customer service, which was kind of separate from the hot dog commentary, except for when she talked about like the conditions at the factories. I couldn't get over it every time she was talking about it being 2021. I was honestly like, Damn, that must have been a nice ass hot dog place if they were still masking in 2021. In Tennessee, I think I think that stopped in like August.
Well, and there was one place that they where she went, they because they masked and they were somewhere that didn't typically mask, like they gave them a discount or something because he was like, oh, like I care for elderly patients or something. It was something like that. Um, yeah, and he was talking, she was like, oh, like he double masked, which made our single masks look reckless, which I thought was funny.
I think she took such a focus on it too because her dad was sick at the time. So it was like she was constantly noticing who was and who wasn't because she was experiencing so much anxiety about it. I remember because she went to like a baseball game or something and she specifically was like, I wore an N95 for my dad because N95s, yeah, rip, are they're, I mean, I'm sure y'all have worn them before. They're a lot more than just like a standard mask. Those are tough to wear for extended periods of time. So I think that's one of the reasons why we saw so much of it and it didn't feel like that because she was so hyper focused on it. Also, I will say I loved this book. I honestly had very little complaints, and I think that's because I didn't know this was a travelogue. I had to look up what that word meant. I didn't even know what that meant. I was just listening to it, and to me, it sounded like I was just listening to like one of my friends just like gossip for I listened to it on 2 times speed for 4 hours. So I was like, this is awesome. I'm just listening to someone talk about getting their back blown out at Radiator Springs.
Yeah.
You
My
always crack me
actual
up
beef
with the
with
two times speed.
I know.
I wish that it had been hornier. That is my number one complaint. She set such a high bar in like chapter 1. She was like, content warning, it's about to get slutty and wet for hot dogs. And I was so ready. But there wasn't sex.
No, just every now and then she was like, what's the hot dog guy's name? The hot dog guy.
What is the second part of the song?
What is his name? The hot dog
love it.
eater. He's like
Joey Chestnut.
Joey
Joey
Chestnuts.
Chestnut.
It was like every now and then she was just like, I want to fuck Joey Chestnut so bad. And then she was like, now I'm repulsed by him. Now I want to fuck him again. And she would just kind of bounce between those, which was cracking me up.
She also got really obsessed with how much they fucked in the Wiener mobiles at the end.
Yeah.
If you got that far.
That was so, I was like, girl, what are you talking about? But I'm listening.
I wanted to know more.
I did too. I was like, what?
I will say first of all that I read it. I don't know if I was the only one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't really read it as a travel log. I guess I almost was like I just enjoy her writing and her commentary and style that it was almost like a excuse to write it. It was like that was like the foundation, but everything else is what I liked. But I kind of, as I was reading, I was like, this is like a document of like COVID era. Not that COVID's over, but like traveling and going to these places, and especially of like workers in these restaurants. That was the thing that every time she would go in and be like, oh yeah, there's a 16-year-old that's on the getting trained who doesn't give a shit, and then there's a 40-year-old guy, like, and that's the dynamic every time. And it's something that I always think about is kind of depressing about these places that we go to, and then she just described it so well.
She also kept bringing up how like every place she was going to had that stupid fucking sign that was so popular during peak COVID where it was like, sorry for slow service. No one wants to work anymore. And then she kept being like, this is fucking stupid. We all know that's not why there's employees. It's really interesting how she used the premise of hot dogs to constantly fucking ream workers' rights and how the meat processing industry fucks over the workers. It's a really interesting backlog. I just love how she intermixes the travelogue aspects with historical backgrounds, with the politics of the meat industry, and while telling the story of her literal relationship falling apart.
Yeah, oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Because I didn't finish it. So how did it end with those two? Because I was like, she does not like this man.
She was very casual about it. She was near the end of the book. It was in one of the end chapter, she was like, so I went to this hot dog place, this time without the boyfriend. You probably guessed that by like page 30 or something like that. And that was it. There was no more real mention of him other than in passing.
Okay,
So
there wasn't
genuine,
like
so real.
tension or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I really liked because it was kind of that vibe. It very much was giving like boyfriend who never pays attention to you and hates like your presence. Not to sound too personal, but y'all know what I mean. I mean, we've all been around people like that. So it was just that vibe was so present because he just kept being like annoyed at her for existing. And I was like, this is clearly going to end up down the shitter. And she was implying it too. So
Yeah, and vice versa too, because I just remember the whole thing where like he doesn't like mustard. And
yeah,
so
she
he
kept
was
saying
like,
it.
oh, I'm gonna have to listen to him
Yeah.
say no mustard, please, and then I'm gonna have to watch the hot dog person's
Yep.
reaction, and then I'm gonna have to say mustard for me, please, and I know that it's gonna make them feel, but like it was this whole thing, and I was like, oh, this is like the beginning. I'm like, this isn't getting any.
Yeah. And then there
Quick-
was that. I'm so sorry. Go
Oh no,
ahead.
sorry. Just quick question, because I guess I don't eat hot dogs right, but I've never put mustard on a hot dog. Does anybody else actually do that?
Hell
I
yeah.
do.
Ketchup and
Yes.
mustard
Both of
on
them.
sides.
Can we do a round robin of like our classic hot dog toppings? Yeah.
You go first.
I bought a shit fucking ton of hot dogs on July 4th because they were on super sale, and I've just been fucking powering through them. My dog, toasted bun, American cheese toasted on the bun in the oven, hot dog in the cast iron skillet until it's
Oh, that
blackened,
sounds so good.
sweet pickle relish, yellow Heinz mustard, and Heinz ketchup.
That's good.
Beautiful.
I would say toasted bun, grilled dog, a line of ketchup, and then I do like kind of dots of mustard because I don't want to
Me
even
too.
going on too much mustard. And then if there are like some onions there, I'll do that. And I'm getting into relish. Not enough for it to be like on my like go-to dog, but I have it sometimes and I'm like, okay, I forget about her. That's what I would say. With cheese.
Yeah, I
I
do like butter on the bun and then grill it while I'm like grilling the hot dog, and ketchup and mustard, just classic Heinz. But also what sticks in my head is like as a kid, my mom would make mac and cheese and like slice up the hot dog and like put the hot dog in the mac and cheese.
That was
But
so
she-
good. Sorry, yeah.
and
Cute.
also Jamie went to, at least in Albuquerque, the doghouse. I do go there and I really like the like chili dog, and they do it like slice it down the middle, and it's like not chili with an I, chili with an E. It's so good. But Lauren can probably speak to that better too, if she's been, maybe. But anyway, someone else.
Shockingly, I've actually never been there, but I don't really feel like New Mexico has a regional hot dog enough for Jamie Loftus to have been there and written about it. And then she wrote about it, and I was like, that's not a thing. We don't have a regional hot dog. I
That's
guess you would put chili with an E on it, which is just like roasted peppers. It's not like the watery like chili with an I chili. It's like a salsa kind of. Imagine like enchilada sauce type deal. So I guess that would probably be as regional as it gets. But I think that when she described eating a hot dog in Albuquerque, it was like some weird thing with like fried like onion rings or something on it, if I remember. Do you remember, Kenzie?
Yeah, but that was at a different place. That wasn't at Doghouse. I think Doghouse ends up being pretty popular because it was in Breaking Bad, and it's kind of iconic. It's got like a neon like wiener dog sign, and he's got like, I don't know. Here, I'll post a picture in a second. But the onion ring thing was at a different place.
I'm moving 10 minutes away from that place. What's it called? Doghouse?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Next, in
Someone
2
there.
weeks, my apartment's 10 minutes away from there. So excited.
Oh, are you like
That is
on
exciting.
Central?
What?
Are you on Central?
No. What do you mean central? Oh,
Like
off the
it's a
street? No, I'm off of Stanford Drive, which is like a little bit further down near the university.
Okay, okay, cool. It was like it's not a great area, like right
No.
next to Doghouse.
I'm like
But
not Hills where I'm moving, I think is the name.
okay, cool.
Well, my go-to hot dog order, sorry to cut you off, Lauren. I don't know if you're done.
Oh no, I can go after you.
My hot dog order, it really just depends on where I go. I'm very much a go with the flow gal. So I will always order whatever is like their thing, whether it's I eat literally everything. I do love sauerkraut. I don't know if that's
I'm
the
a
mind.
sauerkraut girly. I hear you.
I love it, like that and mustard. I lived in Germany for a while, so I got really used to like the sauerkraut and like all the different types of dogs just like at my fingertips.
I'm with you. The dog is determined by the place. I don't determine the dog.
Yes,
The place determines the dog.
exactly.
You know, like I love a good chili dog, but I'm not getting a chili dog if I'm going to like Walt Disney World, for example, because I'll get a
Mhm.
hot dog at Disney World, but I just do plain ketchup and mustard because it's like it's fucking Disney World. You know, I'm
Right.
not going to pay $20 for the shittiest chili dog I've ever had in my life. But if
Let
I
the
go
dog
to
by
like
you.
exactly, you go to like Sonic, they have really fucking good chili dogs
Yeah.
from my memory. I haven't gotten one in a long ass time. No, Lauren. Dude, not the chili dog and it was from Sonic too, not the chili dog in the Brothers New Car.
The chili Sonic dog is pretty good. I've had it. There's a Sonic 2 minutes from my house. I love a chili Sonic dog, but it's a wet chili. That's a liquid
Yeah.
chili. I can't imagine dropping that in a car. I mean, that's the end of the car's life.
It was the first and last day. RIP 25 minutes in. I definitely agree with you on the setting makes the dog. I'm pretty flexible. I would say have you ever heard that joke that's like a Buddhist goes up to the hot dog stand and they're like, what would you want? And he's like, one with everything.
Yeah. No, but that's great.
It's funny.
Something like that. That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, put it all on there. Give me the standard ketchup, mustard, relish, kraut. Sometimes relish and kraut can be a little much though. So usually I'm doing 2 hot dogs, one with sweet relish, one with kraut.
Perfect.
I must say though, I think a Seattle dog is crazy. A Seattle dog with cream cheese and jalapenos, that's crazy to me.
I've never had one.
I'm like, that doesn't sound good. I'm all for like a slice of American cheese on a hot dog. I think that sounds good. They do put grilled onions on hot dogs here, which I love. But I'm not doing cream cheese and jalapenos. That sounds gross.
How did you guys feel when you heard peanut butter and jelly hot dog? Did I imagine that? Was that in the book? No, nobody else.
I didn't get there.
I honestly don't remember that.
Yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Okay, all right. The dead
That was
silence.
terrible.
Everyone's staring at you.
Can you
Loki would
imagine if you
try
just,
it.
like,
That
had a
sounds pretty
dream
good.
about that?
I was honestly thinking about making one for tonight as like my experimental dog, and I'm kind of still thinking about it.
I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm into it, to be honest.
Maybe like a sausage or like, I don't know. Remember the breakfast sausages with the wrapped in pancake?
Those
Remember
are
the
so
hot dog?
favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
So good.
I will admit that I don't really care for hot dogs, which like if there's a grill out, I'm gonna go for a hamburger every time. I'll eat them, but also I've never lived in a place that had like a hot dog culture, so maybe I'm just missing out.
Hot dog culture.
Yeah. Like
I get what you mean.
you go to Chicago and there's like hot dogs at like I've never or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Like New York and shit like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I had a hot dog phase as a child and then I grew out of it and now it's coming back. I read about these hot dogs and I was like, man, hot dogs are so good. And I remember I just bought a pack of hot dogs for the first time, I think in my adult life, like a couple of months ago. And I would just eat it. Like I would take, it was 2 fucking turkey hot dogs. and I would heat them up in the air fryer and then eat it with a half can of baked beans. And I was like, this is the best food I've ever had in my life.
I like to, when I go camping, my friend does this thing. You know those like little smokies, little hot dogs? Just so we get that and then like baked beans and you cook them together in the little like camp cook thing and she calls it
Yes.
beanie weenies.
Yes, my grandma would do that. It was so fucking good every time.
What
I
are
was
those
when I
little-
was a
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say when I was a kid, we would do like the cut up hot dogs and macaroni and cheese. That's another
Mm.
classic that just hits different.
So good.
Sorry, Liz, what were you gonna say?
I guess I'm just having a thought that like hot dogs in my adult life aren't really a thing, except for like when I go to stadiums or like events, because in my brain I associate hot dogs with like poverty and like growing up and eating bologna all the time. So it's not ever like a meat that I'm, like Trey was saying, going for. Like if there's a burger or a hot dog, I'm like, well, I'm an adult, so I'm gonna get the burger.
Oh, I disagree. A hot dog, I got that dog in me, and that dog is a hot dog, my guys. Like last summer, or maybe it was the summer before, I was having hot dog girl summer, and I was trying to eat like all of the different kinds of hot dogs in the city I could. I was like, all right, give me a backyard dog, give me a baseball dog, give me a late night city dog on the street corner. Give me a Costco hot dog. I want it all. I want all the dogs.
I feel
When
that they're growing on me.
I do
When
have to
did-
say, so on my way home from work earlier, I passed a huge tractor trailer that was ballpark hot dogs, and there was like a 30-foot long picture of a hot dog on the thing, and I've never noticed that before. So
I'm sick that you didn't get a picture.
I know it was. I almost did. It was so fast, and I was like on the interstate.
I'm Googling it.
when
I
did
will say I
start-
do love a corn dog too. Last thing.
Oh,
I think I
corn
prefer
dogs.
corn dog than a hot dog.
The Sonic corn dogs are so good and they were like 99 cents
So
for
good.
so long. They're probably like 1.99 now. It's like
Where did glizzy come from? Because I feel like everyone started saying glizzy, and I don't know when that started, but I feel like it's been like a thing that happened like later in my life.
You know how bad that was for me personally, as Lizzie being one of my nicknames when that started? It was bad. It was a bad time.
I can
Okay.
only imagine.
There is a Nathan's famous hot dog eater named Elizabeth Salgado who introduced glizzy to the world by calling herself Glizzy Lizzie.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Good for her.
Good for her. Feminism.
Going back to the book though, do you mind if we pivot a little?
Of
That
course.
that section about like what goes into making a hot dog. I mean, I knew all this stuff already, but just like hearing it again, you're really just like, oh, like they really just like are so inhumane, and these animals are like being tortured, and like they're alive and getting their shit cut off, and it was grossing me out.
I definitely think, yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think she does a good job of being like, the hot dog is cognitive dissonance. Like we enjoy it because we're like, we know, and I pretend I do not see it. You know, and that's one thing I thought was really good in the book, and something I liked about the travelogue too is she was like, this hot dog I am enjoying in this place in this way is such a reflection of like who we are, where we are, who I am. I wrote like a bunch of notes when I was reading the book, and then I revisited them and I was like, what do these even mean? And one of them was like hot dog as mirror, hot dog as self. And I was like, yeah, when I was reading the book, I was like, totally. I was like, every place
Go off. Yeah.
you know, I was like poetry snap. But yeah, I thought that part was really interesting about the the processing. And then again, when she brings up like the labor rights and the workers' rights and COVID and things like that. But anyways, that's all just to say, I think that's an interesting thing that she does really well, of using the like hot dog description to like mirror the place and its people and its processes and beliefs too.
Yeah, one of the quotes I wrote down, and she references this idea of like, yeah, like hot dogs being intrinsically American for so many reasons. But one of the times she was talking about this, the quote was, "Hot dogs are the kind of American that you know there is something deeply wrong with, but still find endearing." And I was just like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Another thing that she talked about that made me appreciate hot dogs more, because I'm like, the few of you that said like, yeah, I'm not a big hot dog guy, because I'm not gonna lie, I did have like the stigma of, no, I eat that when I don't have money. But that is a beautiful thing about the hot dog. It's food for the lower class, and I believe she even talked about in her book, like, hey, here is this, it feeds you, it's protein, it's cheap, and now let me talk about how all these other people monopolize it and put a 3%, 3 times markup on it. And but yeah, that's one thing I really liked about her description of the hot dog. It just made me appreciate, like, you know what? It's food for everyone because it's food for the lower class. And then yeah, we doll it up a little bit to make it more expensive, and sometimes it's worthwhile for $10 for a hot dog. But that's one thing I really liked about her description of the book for hot dogs.
Yeah, she goes into the history of, I feel like she makes this connection, like the history of the toppings of the hot dog. Like back in the Great Depression, they were like, look, it's 2 meals in one. There's a salad on a hot dog. It's economical. Just that like context for
I
why
love
we have
that
done so many things. Yeah. That, and like her connecting it to the jungle after writing about the factory conditions and the farming practices and explaining why the Costco hot dog is only $1.50. That was really interesting. That tickles my brain in a very particular way that I felt very satisfying. She came at it from kind of every angle. I thought that part, I really liked that part.
Yeah, it felt really well like researched for her to be able to do that. It blew my mind about the jungle because I distinctly remember learning about the jungle in high school, and if like on our tests it would have said, what was the significant impact of this, and I would have said, oh, well, it was all about how terrible the working conditions are. And then I was like, wow, that is exactly what we can learn about it in history class, and that's what they want our takeaway to be, is like it was I guess not working conditions, it was how terrible the meat industry is, how terrible these meat factories are, this specific group. And like, and this is from the one teacher I had that was like kind of known as being more liberal within our like Utah high school. But I was like, wow, I totally fell for it. Like, they just needed to have one takeaway that they could point to be like, okay, this is what he's getting after. This is how we fix it. When it's always been working conditions for the lower class. And yeah, I don't know, it just kind of like reinstated this idea of like, oh, like no war but class war.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like systemic, but when it was taught to us as kids, it was taught like there were a couple really gross factories and everyone was really shocked by it. Not that it was a systemic problem that is and still affects us today. It's just it was like they were really yucky, but don't worry, everything's good now.
We have
Is
the
very
FDA, so
explicitly
nothing
what I
bad has
remember.
ever happened.
Yeah, literally. That's exactly how I remember interpreting that book in history class, The Jungle.
Yeah. It also got me thinking, like, could any media have the same sort of impact that the jungle did? Or is, as a culture, have we gotten like really good at preempting any sort of arguments around things? I don't know.
I'm kind of thinking like I mean, one of the things about The Jungle is that everybody was reading it. I'm trying to think of, I don't think it would be a book now, I think it would be TV or something. But I was just sitting here thinking like this book kind of operates in the same way of being a Trojan horse of, oh, it's just a book about hot dogs. And then it's also secretly about labor conditions and like the American government's response to COVID-19. It's not as like, I read The Jungle in college in a class like on radical literature. Oh yeah, sorry guys, this is a recap. Meow, meow, meow. This is actually her talking right now.
She was blending into your hoodie, and then I just heard like the bell, and I was like, oh shit, that's a cat.
Sorry, I forgot about her.
She said, what are you talking
She's a
about
hot dog
dogs
scholar.
for?
She said, ooh, give me a hot dog. But yeah, I mean, The Jungle kind of failed ultimately because it still has that reputation. We talked about The Handmaid's Tale is like a more successful kind of version, although successful.
Debatable.
Also, everything's more fractured now, so you're not gonna have as much of the population consuming one thing that you would in the early 20th century or whatever.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Have y'all
But
all
it-
read Jungle?
I haven't read it.
I know of it.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
also learned about it in high school.
yeah, I
Okay.
haven't
Can
read
I
it. I
be
just learned
the-
about it.
Can I be
Okay.
the asshole that did read it?
No,
It's
yeah,
like,
no,
like,
you
You
can't.
guys were saying jungle, and I was confused because I was like, the jungle.
No,
Like,
I was
like-
confused at first too, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, the jungle, not the jungle, but the
I was like-
jungle."
it's a good book. It is actually very little just about like what's happening in the factory. I feel like most of it is about like his family getting sick and like dying, and him going to like socialist worker meetings. The nasty factory is truly incidental, and that's what makes it even like funnier. Funny is a word for it. Sad and depressing that they were like, oh fuck, everybody's reading this book because it's a pretty well written book. It was like a good story. It was compelling. And they just kind of fully co-opted it. I'm like, what kind of CIA special ops are they doing now?
It'd be interesting to see if there's got to be some books that's like a modern jungle but written about meat factories during COVID. Because I do remember that. I remember that being people talking about how awful it was during COVID, but I didn't realize they were literally like colluding to be like, hey, do you think Trump would do this? Like, that's insane. God. And the fact that it was so awful, but the reason that Jamie couldn't tour any factories is because they were like, out of an abundance of caution for COVID.
Right.
Corporations, man.
I
What a
bet they don't. I bet they
coincidence.
don't let many people in those things, anyways.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think they're going to let a journalist in. You know,
Absolutely.
No.
like I think they would probably have to go undercover. That's all I was going to say. If an actual journalist wanted to do reporting on it, if it is as bad as it seems to be, I don't think we'll see a true picture of it unless someone is as undercover as physically possible.
No, everything I know about the meat packaging industry and the meat industry is literally just been from like footage that has been sneakily obtained. Like they never just let them in there to like see what's going on. And if they do, they get everything right and tight for that day.
It reminds me of, if y'all remember, it was like a year ago now, there were those TikTok influencers touring Shein factories, and it was like these beautiful, perfect factories where nothing ever went wrong. They were so
It
up
was
to
a
date. Oh
brand
my God, the
trip.
employees are so happy here. Yay. Like that's the type of shit they would do for a meat factory, I think, because that's the only way they could do it.
Well, yeah, and still they purposely go after the most vulnerable populations when they're looking for workers. Which is just insane. Like, yeah, some of the stuff I actually like haven't since I just read it like last week, but I actually like haven't eaten meat since I read it because I'm just like really fucked up about some of the stuff that I read. Especially the animals don't have like they don't know a life. So if you just take them away from their mother so they don't ever bond, and like I was just like, Jesus Christ, that's insane. That's awful. Oh my,
Mhm.
anyway. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get over it, but yeah, and that's a big thing too. And like my mom is like kind of hippie, whatever, and so like we she would always say like energy doesn't ever die and stuff. So like if you eat something that is like had a terrible life, like that'll like negatively impact you. And I remember we would like in a very hippie way like bless the food, be like, "Oh, we thank this pig for like living its life and now we're gonna like eat this pig," you know? So I'm like, if I could find a good like a reliable local farmer, that would be cool.
Yeah, I
Kenzie,
think
at the farmers market, there's a couple really good growers. I got some ground beef and like brats, I
Okay.
think from the Olson farms, at the Ballard market, and I think they go to a lot of the markets, and it was so good. Highly recommend.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I think too, there's a number of like CSA, like community supported agriculture boxes that do meat also, here. But yeah, big fan of local meat.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one of y'all were there for when we discussed Tender is the Flesh. But I was thinking about that a little bit as far as I got through of this book. But and I hate that like I have to be like a dumb human who's like, well, imagine if it was us. Like that makes it so bad. But like it did really stick with me. Imagining like a human instead. I mean, it's torturous, you know, in itself. But
It definitely crossed my mind when I was reading that chapter or listening to that chapter about the plants. I was like, oh, we're going back.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
absolutely.
sorry, Tender is the Flesh made you hungry?
I know it's wrong. It's wrong, but I had such good local ground beef after that. It was
I'm dead.
oh,
Dude,
but
I will say,
mhm.
I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say I did switch to a more ethical supplier for meat recently, like in the past couple of months, and it's crazy how much better the ground beef tastes. I couldn't believe it. I and it was in a lasagna, so I was like, I don't think I'll taste it, but I could taste the meat quality difference even in a fucking sauced up, cheesed up lasagna.
No, it's crazy. I'm with you too. Me and my family, me and my mother split an eighth of a cow whenever we need to, which is expensive, but that's another issue. And yeah, having ground organic grass-fed beef, ground beef, like it makes me not feel like bloated or anything. Like I can eat it as like
Yeah.
a pre-workout meal, which is crazy. I never had that before.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way about eggs for sure because we had chickens growing up and I'll always spend the extra money on the happy eggs, the happy chickens.
Same.
Yeah, I'm a because you can even see it in the yolk, like the color and like even
Oh my
like
God,
of
yeah.
the shell and everything, and it's like so much better.
Yeah.
Dude, the yolks are so beautiful and like a rich orange. They're
Like I didn't know
so
the color of
good.
a yolk until I was like the true color of like until I was like 20 something. I was like, they're not supposed to be a
Yeah,
pale yellow. And I
right?
see
Yeah.
someone in French, I'd be like, those eggs look weird. And it's like, no, girl, your eggs are fucked up. Like
Your eggs are fucked. Oh, God.
So going back to the book, sorry I keep like pivoting us back, but
No,
this
you're
is a very
good.
broad topic
oh,
and I feel
thank
like
you.
it's easy to get distracted. What was everyone's favorite city or like place slash dog? Like the place they wanted to eat it, like really bad.
I will say, I think the place that was missing for me was Los Angeles. I don't think she ate a hot dog in LA, did she?
Yeah, she does at the end.
Yeah,
Does
she had
I guess
Pink's
so.
She
Diner.
went to a couple of places and she went to the Dodgers game and she talked a lot about
Oh,
the
that's
people
true.
who sell outside of crypto.com arena. And
Okay. I just feel like there are some iconic places in LA to eat a hot dog, and I was like, you gotta go to those places. But that doesn't answer your question. I have to think of an actual answer to your question.
Yeah,
I
I'm
did
trying to
see
find.
a Reddit thread, and that was somebody's main critique is they feel like she I'd have to find the Reddit thread, but somebody's main critique of the book was they feel like she missed a lot of really iconic hot dog spots. And we know that like she was paid to travel to do this. So that was somebody mentioned that like, oh well, why didn't you prioritize these like really iconic places, but you went to like Six Flags, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess maybe she's trying to like save money with the hotels because the way I felt like she was kind of like they were kind of pinching for money, so I wasn't sure. And I don't know how much they gave her, so and I didn't finish the book, so
No, she pretty much mentions that she's broke like by the end of the summer. And
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a feeling when she was talking about the Six Flag trip that it might not have been during that summer because she said randomly, she was like, okay, now we're in Six Flags. Don't worry too much about it. And so I was wondering if she was just throwing a story in from the past when she was at Six Flags
it
and
was
just had a fucking hot dog, but I don't know.
sorry to be the like
No,
nerdy
please
guy who's
correct
lecturing.
me.
She was at her in her hometown area, and there's some type of Six Flags up there. And it was like a spur of the moment with a couple of friends who were like, we're going to Six Flags. And she was like,
Yeah,
I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna go. And
that's
then they
right.
had
Yeah,
like
that's
a
what it was.
terrible hot dog there.
In the rain.
Yeah. And there was that really funny story about the guy. They were in line and these teenagers cut them, and this guy tried to
Yes. Oh
stand
my
up.
God, that was so hard to listen to, dude. Oh,
I
I was
enjoyed
like,
that.
oh, it was so bad.
Speaking of hard to listen to, all of the moments of like dudes hitting on her or like talking to her, I was like, ah,
I
stop.
know.
There was the white guy with dreads in Portland, I think.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you want to hang out?"
So Portland.
What about you, Trey? What was your favorite dog?
Oh, I don't know. For me, I was so like I said, I'm not a hot dog guy. There's very few times where I was like, that sounds pretty good. Um, I did, I thought she did a really good job of putting the Nathan's hot dog context into or contest into context. Like, with how it's because everybody knows about it, everybody knows Joey Chestnut and stuff, but to put it as this like thing that's just been like very Americanized capitalist like event now um, was really interesting. And talking to that journalist that she talked to, kind of just the whole. What I was impressed by the most, I think, was that I thought the book was very funny, but I almost all of these iconic hot dog places came from the Great Depression and from like immigrant families that created these places for people to have cheap meals, and then they slowly over time like became these like what America does. It like takes these little things that are like come from the people and then make them into like these capitalist machines. And even if you enjoy it and it's like this essentially American thing, um, like it's almost anything that you enjoy in this country, you have to like have a thing in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, there's a little like fucked up thing about this too. I don't know
Yeah.
if that answers the question, but
No, that was great.
I thought
I
um,
oh,
go
go ahead.
Ugh. Okay, it was kind of in the beginning, but the one in Tucson where it was like banana boat style, you said it was like sliced this way and then like put in. And then there was beans with it too. I don't know. I love beans. I thought it sounded good. I've never had a hot dog like that. That was like, oop, banana boat style.
My favorite dog was when I think she had one. It was when she was talking about the street vendors, because like those dogs do always hit, and like you feel good shopping there because it's local. It's just, people working hard, and those are good dogs. Sometimes they charge them a little bit too high, but like I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's as local as you can get. So I'll pay $10 for the street dog.
Yeah, in Seattle they really get you. I don't know, is that a thing? Like when you go out on basically every street corner in Cap Hill, like where the clubs and the bars are, there's a hot dog vendor and they just always get you. Like you come out of a concert, it's like midnight and you see, and it always has a long line. Ugh, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it like wafts through the air and you're like fucked
You're like-
up and you're like, I gotta, you're like, what would make me feel physically better right now? Not this,
One of
but
those
that's what I'm getting.
places accidentally charged my friend $600 instead of $6 when
Oh my
they
God.
like typed it thing.
That's so funny.
You're waking up to, you're like, what did I do last night? And he was $600 charge from a hot dog, from Dirty Dog hot dogs.
They're
You're like-
caramelizing onions too. They're out there on the street caramelizing those onions.
That's so much
More power
work.
to them.
They're so good, but that takes so fucking long to do.
This actually unearthed a memory for me of the like one of 3 times I've been absolutely blackout drunk in downtown Nashville, which is a hellhole. There, I did buy a hot dog from a hot dog stand down there. There are hot dog stands. Usually, there's a lot of Greek food and it's amazing, but they're on near Broadway. There are like a few hot dog stands, and I ate the whole thing. I don't remember if it was good or not, but that is a thing here. I just remembered. It's storming here. I don't know if you can hear that.
The last really good hot dog I had was actually outside of a Lowe's, which she talks about at the very beginning of the book. Apparently they're like mystical now. Like they used to be a thing, but then they kind of got rid of them during COVID. But there was a hot dog stand outside of a Lowe's, or maybe it was a Home Depot. I don't remember. And it was Chicago style, and it was fucking delicious. And they had like all the works, and I put a little bit of everything on it.
I thought it was funny how she kept talking about like, oh, this guy is a hot dog guy, because it's so true. You can tell when you go into like certain places, you're like, I gotta get this right or they're gonna fucking make fun of me. And it's so true. Like some people are hot dog people, and it's like you can feel, like she said, when her boyfriend would not order mustard, she was like cringing. She could feel them judging him.
What kind of
It-
asshole puts ketchup on a hot dog?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. It's really funny how because it's so funny how much of a culture food hot dogs are, but it's literally just a fucking chunk of meat in a bread. So it's just so connected to culture since it can be so specifically what's the word, customized. So people are so steadfast, passionate about the right way,
There's
Even,
something to be said too about how these important cultural things really do originate like within working classes or lower classes, right? Because it also has this kind of stereotype of, it was cheap and they purposefully did market
Yeah.
it to those like people who couldn't afford a nicer meal.
even like the method of cooking a hot dog can have judgment, like a grilled dog versus like boiled hot dog water or something is
Mm.
like has like such a stigma around it, and it's all the same shit really.
I remember, sorry, Liz, I can see you were about to say something. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just had a random thought of like a parallel where I feel like more affluent people are like steak snobs, and I just had this thought of like people have their like meats, and like the upper class have like their really expensive good steaks, and if you were to like put A1 on it, they would judge you. And I wonder if like the flip to that is like the hot dog is the meat that's affordable. So we do all these same things, like we have all these judgments about how you eat your hot dog because I don't know where this thought is going, but I just thought of that parallel.
No, I get you completely, because it's like a cultural connection. Like if you're a rich person in this part of the world, you're probably going to want to eat a very high quality steak. This type of steak is the best type of steak. when you're poor in America, you don't really have different selections of low quality meat. We all kind of have the same thing, and hot dog being the very base. So, and when you look at all the ingredients, it's usually just, variations of very cheap ingredients, like shit that you would just find in your pantry and throw on something, which is makes sense why people get so attached to these things. It's probably very reminiscent of childhood.
Yeah, going on that, Liz, I feel like that just reminded me because I feel like barbecue would be in the middle maybe of like steak and hot dogs. I feel like barbecue guys are really serious about that too, like that whole process.
The middle class.
Yeah, they have a smoker.
It's kind of interesting too, because if we consider cooking to be something that women do, it's the grilling or the meat that is like what the men are in charge of. So it's like in that way it becomes, yeah, our interdisciplinary read on on meat and hot dogs.
A lot of those places, she said, like it was founded in like 1932, and the husband made the meat, and then the woman made the chili or the sauce they put on it. Like it was her recipe. I didn't think about that. I do have an answer for it real quick. I just thought I would want to go to the Chicago place with the dad and the daughter that they ran. I don't remember what it was called, but that's where I would want to go. There was one of those that sounded really good. I think it was like a brisket hot dog or something.
Oh yeah, that place did sound really cool. I agree with you. That's where I'd want to go to.
Yeah, and I love child labor too, so I think it should be a thing. So
I want to support it everywhere I can.
I would like to point out, unless someone has something to say, that sometimes the best parts of the book to me were when she connected like her trip or what they were doing to like a personal thing or a memory or like just talking about her friends or something. I thought that was very strong. I don't know if anyone had that reaction, but like when she
Absolutely.
went to somewhere near her hometown, or where she went to college, and I can't remember where it was, but there's this passage where she would go somewhere, she would get drunk and they'd go get a hot dog at this one place. And then she talks about all of those places and like these things that happened to her. And I was like, this is just really good, funny writing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I relate to it heavily because I often bring up, I wouldn't say often, but like when I'm like shooting the shit, I'm getting to know somebody. One of my like go-to questions is like, oh, like what's the best like meal you've ever eaten? And now that I think about it, all my answers definitely have to do with like not just the food that I was eating, but like the experience of where I was, the people I was with, like all of these other factors that led me to like mark the food as like one of the best things I've ever eaten.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too because like the most recent hot dog I had was it was my friend's birthday. We were all at the lake, and like it wasn't the hot dog itself, but it was just like we just been swimming and we are like just tired and hanging out, and like I just wanted a hot dog real bad, Jennifer Coolidge. But it's like the whole thing about it, it kind of like takes you back to the memory when you had it.
Yeah, I agree. It makes me think of like every time the 4th of July is coming around. I'm not a big hot dog or hamburger girly usually, but like when it starts hitting July 1st, July 2nd, I'm like, I can't wait to fuck up a hamburger and a hot dog. There's something about like those dates and those events where you're with family at a cookout where it's just like a hot dog hits like nothing else would.
Yeah, I think there's also few moments where I feel like something is like, oh, I'm like, this is genuinely like American and something that I can feel like proud of. But I do feel that way around like barbecues and like grilling and like when it's summertime and you go outside and you can smell this and hear that someone's having like a little like backyard cookout. Like it just makes me smile and it makes my heart happy and I think it's really nice in this day and age to find things that we can like be proud of with regards to the United States.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We don't have a lot of like American culture at all. That is in a way American culture, literally having a cookout. That's not really I mean, obviously other places have, every country has a way for you to cook and get together. But in America, a cookout on the grill, some fucking Coors Lights, Bud Lights in the cooler, that's so uniquely American. And it's something that is for once positive about America. It's just to get together.
Speaking of American culture, what are your guys' thoughts on the hot dog competition and how the one MC was so dead set of making an American winner? And it's funny, I don't know if everybody watches King of the Hill. You should. But they actually make an episode about that. I was like, holy shit! They wanted the Dale, this white skinny guy, to like beat the all the South Asian competitors because they were all winning and eating better. And I was like, but that whole segment was just so bad.
I had no clue. I had heard of Joey Chestnut before because everyone always talks about him. I had no clue he was that much of an asshole. Just like so fucking racist and terrible. But man, he can throw down some hot dogs.
Well, it was mainly the guy who runs the contest, right? Like Joey Chestnut just kind of chose not to say anything or kind of played along with
Okay.
the
So
racism.
was
But
he not the one that said we can't have a non-American
no, that was the guy who's like the announcer at the contest
okay,
and
gotcha,
runs it.
gotcha.
Yeah, he
Then I
sounds
didn't
like a
realize
huge asshole.
I take it back. Apologies to Joey Chestnut. I didn't know the hot dog eating competition environment was so insane and racist. Like that's crazy, bro, to be mad at an Asian person for being better at eating hot dogs than an American.
Where was this? Was Coney Island?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see them being racist.
And Joey Chestnut was, I don't know, he seems a little bit because then he beat that peaceful protester when he came on stage or something. Or I
Yeah,
can't
he
remember.
apparently she said she literally thought he killed someone on camera because it looked like he went up and snapped his neck. But he moved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not a saint, but
yeah, he's
definitely.
not as crazy as I thought. There's some other weird shit I feel like that he did. I can't remember immediately, but I had never really looked. Isn't there something where it's like he's banned now?
He
I feel
was
like
banned.
I think it's because he signed a deal with like Beyond Meat or whatever, and one of the like it's Nathan's Hot Dogs or whatever that puts on these competitions. Part of the contract is that you can't be with any other like hot dog group. I think I was listening to this on NPR
that's
and they like
amazing.
talked about it. They like got them to both talk about it on air. And the like Nathan's Hot Dog guy was like, yeah, it's even if it's not meat, it's a food-filled tube. So that's the equivalent of a hot
My
dog. And
God,
everyone was
that's
like,
so
"Ugh,
funny. Holy shit.
food-filled tube." But anyway, yeah, so it was really, really dumb. But that's why he's like banned.
Holy
But he's probably like,
shit.
whatever, I'm making money still.
Yeah, that's really funny.
That plant-based money.
Didn't she say that after the contest he goes home and only drinks water and lemon juice for 3 days or something?
Yeah, she said he does a juice fast when he comes
That
home.
was grossing me out. Just the whole
I know.
the
His poor
whole
toilet.
thing is gross.
I know. And then she was talking about how after he keeps his food down long enough, he just goes into like his private bathroom and throws up until he's empty, I guess. And then he does a juice fast for 2 or 3 days. And it's just like, I mean,
Also,
not to sound un-American, but for hot dogs, dude.
I was fascinated by the women of. I was like, why
Yeah.
don't we? I've never heard of these women, but they were like, yeah, there was this one. She was like 100 pounds, and she beat Joey Chestnut at all these other like eating contests.
I also love how she pointed out that only the women were being accused of having an eating disorder or being bulimic to do these competitions, whereas like, yeah, I'm sure Joey Chestnut just eats fucking 50 hot dogs and digests them, bro. And he doesn't go hide in a bathroom for an hour like apparently he does. I shouldn't say hide, like it's clear what he's doing. It's not like people aren't aware of it. But it's just crazy that that label is thrown on a woman because she's a small, skinny woman instead of fucking Joey Chestnuts, you know?
I saw a funny Reddit story of somebody who went on a first date and they both decided they wanted hot dogs for some reasons. They went to a hot dog joint together and they get to the hot dog joint and there's a hot dog eating contest going on. And the woman who's on the date is like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna enter the contest because if you do the contest, you get your hot dogs for free. So she was like, I'm gonna save you some money and like go do this and do my best. And she did the contest. She got third place, and then at the end of it, the date had just like ditched her. He was like, "Nah, this ain't for me." But in my head, I'm like, if somebody was like, "Yeah, let's fucking do this contest," and they got third place, I'd be
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty good. God forbid a woman has fun.
I'd be like,
Literally.
time to celebrate.
I
Rough
think
metal,
there's an
baby.
episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm that's kind of like that, where he's like, I can't make it to that date with you because I am in a hot dog eating contest. And she's like, oh, that sounds really great. Like, I'd love to come with you. But he was like, I'm just going to make up some like stupid lie. But then they end up like having to go participate in this hot dog eating contest because she was like, actually, I'm really into that.
What a queen. An icon, even.
she'll find somebody that deserves her. Just
So
like the
they're up
gall
with
it
this-
takes to like see that happening on a date and be like a first date and be like, no, I'm doing it. Like, tap me in.
Yeah, that's sick. That's fucking sick.
Would you ever do a hot dog contest?
No,
I can't.
but
I
No,
couldn't.
can't. Physically can't. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, she's gone.
I can't eat that fast. Like, it's not even about I mean, I obviously couldn't eat that many hot dogs, but that's not what it's about for me. I'm like, I couldn't eat them that quickly.
I have like a phobia of vomiting, and I know people, whether me or someone else, is going to be thrown up. So I would just not even go near it. Like, I would love to watch a hot dog eating contest, but I don't even think I would want to watch one. Because I would be like, someone's about to start fucking hurling on this stage. I just know it.
And even if they're not, no one looks like they're having a good time. Like,
Yeah,
they
it's
look
like really
every
gross to
bite they look like
watch.
they're about to, and I feel like sometimes
Yeah,
that is enough to be like make me really
yeah. I want to dip out. I'm like, I'm good.
yeah.
You got to dip the buns in the water.
You do. That's what I learned. You got to break it in half and dip them in the water.
Gross. Soggy buns.
I know. That's what they said. Not Joey Chestnuts, but the other guy did. Although Chestnut probably does it too, I imagine.
I think
But I-
Kobayashi was kind of he was like an
Yeah.
innovator. Yeah.
He was the one who does that.
But I bet it's gotta be fun because the way she talked about it, like everybody's
Right.
going crazy, and like
I
there's
know.
it's like the thrill of watching somebody literally kill themselves is what gets you all hyped up.
Yeah,
So American.
it is.
The overindulgence of it. Like,
Bro, only in America we would have a sport of literally eating as much food as possible and training your body to do it. That's sick.
And it's like, yeah, and no one's enjoying it. It's like we literally take anything that's supposed to be like chill and nice, and we're like, okay, how can you do the most, even though it's terrible? And yeah, and in that way, that's a metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, let's make sure it's only white men that succeed.
Yeah.
It was so funny that he proposed to a fellow competition eater, and then by the next year they had broken up and they didn't get married. That was really
Yeah,
funny.
that was crazy. The drama of it all
It
was
seemed to have
cracking me up.
devastated him.
Yeah. Also, I was just looking at my notes. This is totally irrelevant. But one of the things that really cracked me up was when she started talking about the gender pickles, because I was like, oh my God, I know what she's talking
Yes.
about. As soon as she brought it up and she talked about, this is this is Big Mama and this one's Spicy Dad or whatever the fuck. I was like, I am dead, bro. I've
I
seen
was like,
these in
these are
gas
the three
stations.
genders.
I'm sorry, what?
I was like, these are the three genders.
Yeah,
Yes.
literally. I was dead, bro. I was like, this is so fucking funny. And she kept coming back to it and being like more and more disturbed. She was like, I hate to tell you there are sexy pickles at this random place in Georgia, but they're there.
The best part was in the book, there's pictures.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you should
Oh.
send them pictures in the group chat. They are really funny.
There's pictures all throughout it because they have pictures too of
Oh,
like
that's devastating.
these jars of toppings and yeah, there's a lot of pictures.
I know what they look like because I've seen them in gas stations. I have never been brave enough to like buy one and eat one.
Me neither. But people fuck those up on TikTok. I see
Oh,
people
yeah,
going
I've seen those
crazy
viral
with them.
videos. There's
Yeah.
that one lady who's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And try to find the
I
gender.
can't believe it took us this long to get to the gender pickles. That was like the first thing I thought of. I was like, we gotta talk about the gender.
It was so fucking funny.
That's the American royal family.
It really is. Like, I never thought about how weird the gender pickles are until she was like, why are there gender pickles? And I was like, she's right. Oh my God.
Okay, so you go to a gas station, you get a ginger pickle, you get basically gas station meth in those little bottles, and then you get a hot dog and a monster, and you're
Living
set,
the
dude.
dream.
And then an eagle flies over you.
Yes.
And then you vote for Donald Trump, and then it's perfect.
The only place that I had been that she goes to is the Varsity in Atlanta. I think that's the only place. But
It really made me want to go there, that chapter. I was
I've
like,
been there.
get there.
When she's talking about like the anxiety when you're ordering, it's so true. Like I was so scared ordering because they're like screaming at you, like, "What do you have? What do you have?" And you're like, and it's like everything's name stupid. It's like one of those things. Very weird place.
I was interested in that guy that she was talking about that basically like gave them their brand. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the old black guy, and then the guy who worked there for forever.
Right, yeah. I would like to do more. I don't know if she expands on that. I don't think so, but she basically just poses the question of like this one employee like gave them their name and their brand and like something they're still marketing to this day, and like was he ever paid more than the hourly wage?
Right. He was kind of the face of he was like always being interviewed. People came to see him, and yeah. Probably not. He probably was not.
I think that's another great metaphor for capitalism.
That's what this is one of my favorite books I've read this year because I just love how seamlessly she integrates these three stories. One is her relationship between her boyfriend and her falling apart. Second is just the perils of capitalism and how the labor force is being exploited, behind the scenes of these cute little mom and pop stores. And then the third is just the travelogue part and learning literally about hot dog history. Like it was just, I never found myself bored. I don't know why. I was just in love with this book. I just was like, I literally am listening to, like I said earlier, my friend just like shit talking with me for a couple of hours. I had so much fun with it.
I think that is the magic of Jamie Loftus. And if you really liked this book, which I did too, I would recommend you listen to her other projects because it has that same appeal of like, there's so much going on here. And we're getting you in through the door with something that's like seemingly kind of benign and funny. She has a podcast out right now. Her most recent one is called 16th Minute. And it's basically about people who got famous like through stupid memes.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And she goes out and she interviews them and she gives more context to the story. And obviously a lot of them are really dark. Like they interviewed he's climbing in your window guy from like 2010.
Oh my God.
So when they interview him, and I think
Dion Anderson? Is that his name? How did I just pull that out of my ass?
That's wild.
And they talk about like all of the fallout and the news and the royalties, and like how at its core it's like a story about abuse.
That is so fascinating.
It's crazy. Yeah. So
I'll
anyways,
have to
that
listen to
one's
that for
really
sure.
cool.
Thank you. I really appreciate that recommendation. Do you have any other recommendations from her?
Oh, everything she does is really good. She does another podcast called The Bechdel Test, which is about movies
Classic.
and basically like does the movie pass the Bechdel test, which is do women or like non-men essentially talk to each other about something that doesn't have to do with a man. And so it's like a really funny movie rewatch podcast. That one is fun. She has another one where she joins Mensa, which is like an organization.
I'm dead. I have to listen to that.
That one's really good. They're also pretty short. It's like a organization for people who have really high IQs.
Yeah.
And she goes into it and she's like, these are just a bunch of like crazy Trump supporters.
They're
basically.
so crazy. I am obsessed with the Mensa people. I'm really obsessed with little microcosm communities. I follow the Mensa community on Reddit because they're so stupid.
Oh, dude, then you should start with that one.
I think I will. I'm obsessed with them, bro.
She has others, but those are 3 of maybe the 6 she has.
Okay. Can I join and just lie about my IQ? Like, IQ is fake. Like, do they realize
that's the thing? You don't.
I think she might have.
That would be so fucking funny, bro. I love Mensa.
And there's so much
freaks.
infighting.
They're crazy. So there's another subreddit called r/cognitive testing, and it's basically Mensa but light. And it's always crazy how these communities always end up racist, sexist, every ist possible, you know, because they'll just say the craziest shit like, is this why X race isn't as smart as Y race? And you're like, bro, what? You can't say shit like that. What are you saying?
I'm watching a baseball game. It's in Milwaukee and they're doing the sausage race right now.
I am dead.
That's
so funny.
I thought you guys were at first thought you were talking about MRSA, which is very different. It's like that.
No, not MRSA.
Like a skin disease or something. A whole podcast on MRSA.
I'm gonna join the MRSA community.
Mensa is like the club you join if you have, I think it's over 140 IQ, which is technically a genius. But as Liz said, it's all fake. So
I've never taken an IQ test because I'm smart enough to know that shit's fake as hell.
Yeah.
The real IQ test should be if you're dumb enough to pay to be a part of an organization. But also IQ tests can be expensive too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any of those tests, this is a totally different conversation that we don't gotta get in on. But to get diagnosed or to get any type of like cognitive tests are way too expensive, and that's why people are just consistently misdiagnosed with the wrong mental health diagnosis. I don't think I have depression. I think I either have ADHD or I have something else, but I've been consistently told by therapists that oh, you're just depressed. I'm like, I don't think that's the root of it.
I think a lot of mental health I think a lot of mental health professionals struggle with seeing depression as both a root cause and also a symptom of another root cause, you know? So they just are fucking like, yeah, depression is the root cause. It's not that you have another thing causing the depression. We'll just throw some Lexapro on it, you know, some shit like that. I feel you though, Liz. I get you. I was looking.
There was some stand-up somewhere where like, so autism diagnoses are like $2,000.
That's what I was about to say. And
there's some stand-up guy that's like, give me 10 minutes with you and I'll tell you if you're autistic. Tell me how you feel about trains, and then by the end of that convo you're like, all right, it'll be $2,000.
I wonder if that was Shane Gillis.
Oh, probably.
He usually does those jokes. Yeah, that shit, the cheapest place I could find was $500 for an unofficial one that you have to write like a 10-page essay for. And then the average cost was like $1,500. And then you can't pay with insurance. And then with insurance was before insurance, with insurance is $2,500. But I honestly don't think most insurances would take much off. Anyway, this is all totally irrelevant to Raw Dog. I know we're going crazy now.
No, it's not irrelevant because the fact that our privatized American health system,
Mhm.
it relates back to capitalism. Like
It does, yeah. It
I
all,
can't.
All the way to the top.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh man. Classic America.
If I had just like, if I had 20 minutes
Good
by
night,
my
Lauren.
bye.
She told me she's almost finished with Remarkably Bright Creatures.
I'm
like,
dead.
Dang,
Okay, I
I
need to
haven't
get that
started it
book.
yet.
Yeah, I got it, but I haven't started yet.
If I had 20 minutes by myself, I'm sure I could formulate a pretty coherent thesis about how our like healthcare system is related to hot dogs. I just need the time
No,
and
for
the
real.
Definitely. I think maybe, I think she kind of does in the book, is she's like,
Yeah.
the poor people are the ones that like have to mainly eat these foods, and they're usually not as nutritious as like uh, other more expensive foods, and then they're stuck with the health complications in our system.
Mhm.
But
There's that one thing she quotes all throughout the fucking book.
very true.
And she's like, I don't think that this is necessarily true, but we've all heard it before. It's the thing where it's like one hot dog takes 20 minutes off your life or whatever. And of course, that's probably very exaggerated, but the sentiment is there. The sentiment is a hot dog is unbelievably fucking unhealthy for you. But
Mhm.
it is a good ass basic protein that's cheap. And like we've been saying, it's what a lot of people need to depend on. So if it is, this analogy where we say each hot dog is 20 minutes off your life, literally, if you are poor and eating hot dogs, you're killing yourself each day. And that is the truth of capitalism. You can't eat healthy food. You can't afford it. You literally have to kill yourself with consuming. Not that I have to tell anyone this in here. I know y'all will get it,
Yeah.
but
And I would take it even a step further and be like, look at the dishes of like, for instance, like Black American households and like gumbo, and what meat do they use in the gumbo? It's like, it's hot dogs, you know? And it's just all so intertwined. Even if something feels like we're pivoting like really far off from hot dogs, I could definitely see a way and find a way to like bring that back.
yeah, absolutely. I agree.
I imagine, going back to the book though, I imagine that this project was really daunting. Not only just from the physical aspect of like having to physically travel across the country during a pandemic, but also finding a way to make it funny. And this goes back to what you were saying about all the things you liked about it, Mary. Um, Making it funny, making it historical, like bringing all these things into it, but then also trying to narrow her scope so much. It must have been like really hard to do.
I know. I was thinking about that when I was reading. I wonder what this is why I would love to talk to her, and she probably has talked about this before, her process was for developing this, because her premise was, I'm going to go eat a bunch of hot dogs and make it a travel log. And what ends up happening, her and her boyfriend break up. Her dad has cancer. His surgery gets rescheduled, and all of this affects the story itself. And I wonder at what point she found the narrative that she was going to follow, which was connecting, I think, these three main stories: hot dogs, her relationship, traveling to eat. So the history of hot dogs, and then traveling to eat. Sorry, I'm not flipping you guys off. Traveling to eat hot dogs down here, into one story. So yeah, I'm just obsessed. I would love to know when that connection happened.
I would love to see what's on the cutting room floor.
What do
What
you
wasn't
mean?
like what wasn't included, what was taken out because the
Oh,
public
yeah.
too broad, like
Yes, would love that.
She alludes to like screaming arguments with her boyfriend, but doesn't just like
Right.
this.
By the way, does she ever name the boyfriend, or does she always just refer to him as the boyfriend?
She doesn't, but I was looking at the acknowledgements, and I
Uh-huh.
think I figured out who it was. Not that it matters by first name.
Who was
Oh,
it,
it
out of
matters.
curiosity? Oh, does it?
I don't know. I'm just
Oh.
curious.
She says, "Thank you to Isaac for knowing me inside and out and for knowing the way." And I was like, out of all of them, I was like, that's probably it. Something about
Probably
it
him.
in the sequence made me think that that's what it was.
Either that or that could just be her current partner. Because I was wondering if the reason why she didn't even name the boyfriend is because she doesn't want to get sued by him. And that's probably also why she didn't go too hard on. Like, she would just kind of be like, this is something that happened and this is how people around him reacted, rather than being like, he's fucking stupid. She would be like, people around him stared, you know?
I could be wrong, but it seemed like it was like she's pretty, like it was pretty mutual, or like it was
Yeah, I
understanding.
agree. They seemed like they just weren't a good couple because she did a pretty good job, I think, at characterizing her own like wrongfulness in the relationship, because we've all been there. Like, when you're in a relationship that you don't want to be anymore, you just turn into a bitch. You don't want to,
Mhm.
you both do, because you don't want to be around each other anymore. And I think she does a pretty good job at capturing that, because I think it was Kenzie earlier, she talked about how she did the thing where she was like, I'm gonna have to watch him fucking ask for no ketchup at every spot. And it's like, why does that matter? It doesn't, but it matters to her because she hates him now.
Or
Yeah,
she was
you're right.
booking
It's
go ahead.
Isaac Taylor. I found something online.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was his name.
I think I found
Nice.
a picture, but let me verify first. Because it's from
Yes, I would
2018. I
love
don't
to
know if she
see.
mentions how long they were together.
Well, they had a house together, so
So probably, yeah.
Ooh, that's
That's definitely
crazy.
um oh, but she like gradually started booking rooms with 2 beds and
Yes,
pretending
I
that's
loved
all
that
that she
story,
could
that
get.
detail. When she uh, I okay, average white boy.
Wait, no, come back. I didn't see. I didn't see. Oh, okay. Okay.
He's
That's a
fine.
man for sure.
He's fine. He's fine.
I don't know what she looks like. I haven't like watched
I
any of
don't
her
know
interviews.
either, but I love her. That's all I know.
Um,
That's her
I
fault.
can't believe they took their
Stop. I
pet.
love her.
I was thinking about that too, Liz. Like that had to be
Yeah, so
so rough.
That's
it
cool.
sounded like he kept the dog, right?
Yes, I think
But
so.
I don't know if that cat was also theirs or if she adopted the cat afterwards. It sounded to me like maybe she kept the cat and he kept the dog, but I'm not sure.
Either way,
It
traveling with
sucks.
animals, I can't imagine a cat and a dog. That
Good
shocked
Lord.
me to my core. I was like, you
Yeah.
didn't get like your sister, aunt, cousin, brother, friend to like watch your animal while you went cross country. That's just crazy. I understand taking the dog. It was the cat that
is
really like
crazy.
Did she
yeah.
take the cat with her? Because I thought that she just came back to the
Yeah.
cat at the end. She took her
No,
with her? That's
yeah. And they
They
crazy.
were
said
sneaking
that
them into the hotel and stuff.
I am
Mhm.
dead, bro.
at least the dog was a Cocker Spaniel, so those are kind of small.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think I love Cocker Spaniels. They're good dogs.
They are very good dogs.
I'm sure she did it too, because I mean, it sounds like they were just penny pinching, and I don't know, they were gone for like
Yeah.
a whole summer, so that's a lot of, even if it's a favor from a family
Yeah, I
member,
guess
it's
that
a
does make
burden.
sense
But
why
at
they
least I
would
think
do that.
they could take the dog with them, but it's not, I feel like it's not hard to ask someone to like watch your cat. Like, I don't
I
know.
agree. I
Depends
would
on the
bring
cat. I've met
Yeah.
asshole cats watching them.
I have one, girl. But fortunately we have a friend here who will watch our asshole cat for us when we go.
I had dog set over the weekend and it was so stressful and wore me out. It was
Oh
like a
no.
needy dog, like she was sweet but needy and dumb.
Oh yeah.
It was like downtown, so I was like walking it and there's like tourists and stuff. And it
You're
was,
describing my life.
oh God, I don't know how you do it. I was like, I can't wait to get back home to cats.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been on Rover for a long time, and
Mm,
there's like I do love pets, but there's just like a different level of stress. I think I just get
absolutely.
stressed out about like something going wrong and like it's not my animal, you know? Like if
Mhm.
something happens with my cat, like it'll make me sad, but I can take care of it, you know? I'll handle it, but it's just like a whole extra level of stress. And there's just things you don't know to look out for each animal, and
Yeah.
it's a
What
lot.
really scares me too when I try, because once a year when my boyfriend and I, Milan, when we travel to Tennessee to visit my family for Christmas, we drive because I live in Orlando. It's like including breaks, it's like a 12-hour drive. Um long story short, it's worth it for cost and for transporting gifts and stuff like that. So usually because we're gone for like a month, because I work from home, so I can just work remote. We take the cats. We have 2 cats and I have a snake, so I take the snake now too. But the cats, like, oh my fucking God, it's so stressful. And what stresses me out the most is I'm scared of getting in a car wreck with them in the car, because I when I am driving alone, they stay in their carrier because I can't keep an eye on them, you know? And I just think about, like, what if I got in a car wreck, the cage goes loose, the cats are gone, and if the cats are gone, they're dead. I mean, this is a fucking interstate, you know? And I completely understand having to do it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on her for traveling with them. I'm just saying it would be really fucking stressful and scary, you know?
I brought that up because for me, well, we see the relationship like deteriorate, right? And at first I was like, well, you know, any like cross country road trip I go on with somebody, you have to have a really good
Oh,
understanding
yeah.
of each other. But then adding the stress of having like a dog, okay, Rufus is there, whatever. Like Rufus is basically a person, like I know, whatever. But my cat with me the whole
Yeah.
time, stressed out, meowing, like freaked out every time we go into another hotel room. Like I imagine that added a layer of stress to the relationship. On I just,
Yeah.
not
But
to
she's
judge her
technically
or
working.
anything. Yeah. I was like, why would you bring your cat?
Yeah. I would love to know if she did it again, or if she could go back in time, would she still bring the animals? Like, I wonder how much of a role they played. Because the other thing about a cat is a litter box. You have to take like a portable litter box with you, and that shit's so fucking annoying. A dog, obviously, you just leash and take outside. That's so much easier
So
when you're
she's
traveling.
basically working on this novel, going out to these places, eating all these hot dogs, trying to maintain like communication with her partner, and then also on top of that, like also trying constantly, because as a pet owner of a dog and a cat, you are constantly thinking about them. Like whether you're with them, they're at the hotel room, you're out doing your thing, whatever, they're always in the back of your head. Like, what the fuck are they up to? Are they good? Blah, 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 blah. And I just wonder how much of a role that played in her story, because
Yeah.
I don't think she like really touches on the animals much. But
Yeah, not
as
much.
soon as she mentioned the fact that she had her dog and cat, I was like, you're a crazy bitch. Like,
Bro, what car were they driving into? I need to look at what car model they had, because I think she mentioned it at some point. And just imagine traveling in that with 2 people and a cat and a dog at all times.
I want to say it was a Subaru, but
I know
that
it was
could
a
be
that
wrong.
rental,
sounds
but
right. Sorry, what'd you say, Trey?
oh, I was just saying it was definitely a rental. They kept talking about the rental car.
I think it was a Subaru as well. That sounds correct to me.
Well, better than like a whatever, a sedan.
What a wild I guess I haven't really thought about this. What a wild like breakup story though. Be like, oh yeah, we
Yeah,
did. What happened? Oh, we went on
on a road trip.
uh 3 month long
Dogs,
hot
hot
dog.
dogs.
Yeah.
I think as well, he meant I might not have, or I might have misunderstood, but I think he was working remote, is what it sounded like. Every now and then it would be like he was doing work on his laptop, or and he looked at me or something like that. So then there's another thing that you have to throw on if he is trying to work remotely, but it also could mean work in the abstract sense, you know, just like how she was working while traveling. I don't know.
One thing I really liked about this book is I personally resonated with it heavily because I also like cross country traveled in 2021. I have my bestie Lucy, who's a professional photographer, and at the time she had a contract with a storage company, and they basically same deal. They paid her in advance to travel across the United States and take photos of all of their storage unit facilities. And she was like, Liz, I can't do this alone. We've done this multiple summers in a row at this point. She's like, Liz, I can't do this alone. Do you want to come with me? Help me with the drive, help me carry my equipment, whatever, whatever. And I always said like hell yeah, because it was free travel for me. And then she paid me like a little bit, but I mostly like did it for the free travel. obviously. So during the summer of 2020, I literally was like going to like Phoenix, Arizona, and traveling up California and stopping in Washington and going through Las Vegas. Like I was doing that same like deal. Obviously, I wasn't eating hot dogs. I was going to storage units, but I did like heavily relate to like what that like feels like, and like mentally, emotionally, physically, like being in a car, traveling, hotel, car, traveling, and like the excitement of that, but also the exhaustion of that, and at the same time like working during that. So that is one thing that I really, really loved about this book, because I really heavily related. And going back to the pets, I could not have done that with pets. Like that blew my mind. She did that.
Yeah, that's hats off, because that's a shitload of fucking work. I can't believe that they did it. I wonder if the trip went as planned, or if they broke up like midway through and they had to cut it off early. I couldn't quite tell by the tone, when, because she was kind of vague about the details. But I am curious just as to how that affected her travel plans, like if she didn't get to see some spots or what. I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe going back to those people whose main gripe with the book was the fact that she had missed iconic hot dog spots, I wonder if maybe that was why.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of want to say towards the beginning, she's like, people are really opinionated when it comes to hot dogs, and people are gonna like, I'm not gonna get everything. I'm gonna get what I
Yeah,
was able to. I don't know if
yeah,
that was really, to me, like the book's not about what is the best hot dog in America. Like, although she does
yeah.
list her favorites at the very end somewhere. I don't
New
know
Well, I
if that's,
Jersey,
remember,
right?
yeah, like
Wasn't it New Jersey?
yeah,
the
yeah.
last line of the book before the epilogue was something like, "Oh, and what's the best hot dog in America? Blah 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 at blah blah blah, of course." End book or something like that. Or that's how it was in the audiobook I listened to, I should say.
All right. In the like recommended reading, she has top five are the place in New Jersey, Marie's Hot Dogs in Tucson, Arizona, Kim Jong Grillin in Portland, hot dog carts across from crypto.com arena, and
I love that one.
Texas Tavern in Roanoke, Virginia.
Huh,
Damn.
And then
love
there's a
that.
picture of the cat here. I don't know if I can.
Aw,
Aw,
Yeah.
well, that's
poor
a
kitty.
fat fucking cat.
And there's a picture of the dog too, if you're interested. Can you see?
And then the
Oh,
dog
that's
is
a good
really
dog.
cute.
Yeah. Um, who else listened to the audiobook version?
I did. That's what people were saying was the best format for it. So
I
I'm
liked it a
glad you
lot.
read it, Trey, because I'm glad we have some
Yeah.
differences.
I don't know
There
why I don't. I should listen to it.
there
too,
was one special thing we got in the audiobook, because she literally says, "Okay, this is for audio you audiobook guys only." It was when she was doing the fucking Wienermobile song. She was like, "Legally, I can't follow the tune of it, so you're just gonna have to imagine I'm doing it here." And then she just read it in a deadpan voice.
That's funny.
She's really endearing. I really liked her writing style a lot. I'm definitely a fan. No.
All right, I have to head out, but
I
thanks for
think it's a good time to wrap up as well. We've been on it for a while. Do we have
Yeah,
any
absolutely.
2 hours.
thoughts?
Might be a record.
We're
Um,
yappers. What can you say?
we
Professional
are.
yappers.
I want to share with you guys my favorite quote, and it's the only quote I wrote down. It was right after she had eaten a crazy ass hot dog, and then she was gonna eat like one wrapped in bologna or something. She said, "What of my ass, Baltimore? What of my holes?" And I loved that
Yes.
line. So I wrote it down.
What of my ass?
What of my holes?
What was the line that it was near the end, very near the end, where she compares people to hot dogs? I can't remember, but I remember feeling very, very touched. Does anybody know?
Remember that. I remember that. I liked it as well.
What of my holes?
For my rating, I don't know if y'all want to give a rating as well. Honestly, I don't know what genre I would classify it as, but it was a 5 out of 5 for me. I loved every second of it, and I really don't have I did listen to it at 2 times speed, so it could be slower potentially than I interpreted it as, but for me it was perfectly paced.
Yeah, I'll do a 4.
Or
I
This was
also
right up my alley, so I'll say 5. And sorry, Liz.
Oh no, go. I was just gonna say, for me, it was probably a 4. But then I tried to when I first started this 2 hours ago, I was like, I didn't like it that much. But then after talking about it for so long, I was like, no, I liked it more than I thought. I did just finish it, so I don't feel like I've had the time to like properly sit with it,
Yeah.
which might change, which after 2 hours has changed my feelings about it for sure. As a travelogue, it would be a lot lower. I don't like that it was categorized as that, and I don't like that that was my
Expectation.
expectation. Yes. If as a travelogue, I would give it like a 3. But as just
Fair.
like just taking it for what it is, and like the writing, and it's funny, would I recommend it? Yes, 4 out of 5 for sure.
If we go another 2 hours, you think you can get up to a 5?
Probably. I'm a yapper. I let it talk about shit.
The way Liz was like, I'm not gonna really be in this meeting. I'm gonna be quiet.
I
I'm
know.
gonna have my camera off.
Girl,
checked
she
the
got that
ending
glass of red wine. She was good to go.
Yeah.
She said hot dogs. All right, giddy up.
Yeah. I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I need you to lead this meeting. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to. Maybe that's how I know I'm
God
actually
bless.
an extrovert. Is I always go back and forth. Like, am I introverted? Am I extroverted? I think I'm actually extroverted because chatting with people actually energizes me, not the opposite.
I think
That's totally
anyone can be an
possible, yeah.
extrovert with the right people,
Yeah, that's fair too.
and vice versa. Like some people, I'm like, God, you're exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
All right, y'all. Well,
night,
thanks for
guys.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining. Start
Yes.
Remarkably Bright Creatures.
Yes. See you next month.
I
Okay,
definitely
bye.
will.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.